Hollywood is dead, and Snow White's box office disaster just proved it.
Snow White.
Yes, you heard that right. What was once the beating heart of global entertainment is now facing its toughest collapse in decades. And this latest flop is the biggest sign yet. For decades, Hollywood was untouchable, the dream factory that defined pop culture. But in 2025, audiences are walking away in massive numbers, studios are scrambling, and once reliable franchises are falling flat. So what really went wrong? Why has Hollywood lost its magic? And how does Snow White's failure capture the entire crisis? Stay tuned because we'll break it all down step by step. But first, a quick reminder. If you love authentic, no-nonsense coverage of Hollywood's rise and fall, hit that subscribe button right now. Join our growing community so you never miss a single update on the industry's biggest stories. Let's not waste time. Here's the raw truth. Disney's Snow White remake was supposed to be a crown jewel, a legacy film, a chance to take the very first Disney princess and reintroduce her to a modern audience. Instead, it's become one of the most talked about failures in recent memory. The box office numbers tell the story. Opening weekend, far below expectations. Industry analysts predicted at least a strong family turnout, but audiences just didn't show up. Instead of packed theaters, we saw half-empty auditoriums, critics divided, and fans outright rejecting the project. And it's not just the numbers. Word of mouth destroyed this film faster than any critic's review. Families who did attend walked out unimpressed. Online chatter quickly turned the film into a meme. TikTok videos mocking scenes racked up millions of views in hours. On YouTube, reviewers pulled in audiences larger than the movie itself. And on X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like Hollywood is dead and boycott Disney trended within hours of release. That's the kind of collapse you can't spin. Disney executives may call it disappointing or unexpected, but fans see it for what it is, a breaking point. A sign that the old Hollywood playbook, reboots, remakes, and recycled stories, no longer works. And the painful truth, Snow White didn't just flop. It exposed how fragile Hollywood really is. The backlash wasn't quiet, it was loud, relentless, and viral. Fans who grew up with the 1937 Snow White called this version unrecognizable. They complained it stripped away the magic, the innocence, and the timeless quality of the original. Instead of nostalgia, audiences felt frustration. On TikTok, creators stitched trailers with sarcastic commentary. Memes about the costumes, the storyline, and even the lead actress's interviews spread faster than Disney's own marketing. By the time the film hit theaters, millions of potential viewers had already decided it wasn't worth their money. On YouTube, independent reviewers exploded with viral content. Some review channels racked up millions of views dissecting every flaw, from CGI that looked unfinished to awkward writing that felt forced. Viewers who never planned to buy a ticket still watched these reviews for entertainment. In a strange twist, the fail of the movie became more entertaining than the movie itself. Then came social platforms like X, where hashtags painted the bigger narrative. It wasn't just number Snow White trending, it was Hollywood is dead. The film became a symbol, a shorthand for everything fans believe is wrong with modern Hollywood. Corporate greed, lack of originality, and tone-deaf storytelling. Once a movie becomes a meme, recovery is impossible. And that's exactly what happened here. Snow White went from a must-see Disney event to an industry punchline, all in the span of a weekend. Snow White's failure wasn't just another box office disappointment, it sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Disney poured millions into this project, from lavish sets to global marketing campaigns. This was meant to be safe. After all, the original Snow White is Disney's foundation. If any remake could succeed, it should have been this one. But when even that failed, alarm bells went off in boardrooms across Hollywood. Shareholders demanded answers. Analysts on Wall Street started questioning Disney's long-term strategy. Insiders whispered about leadership missteps. The message was clear. If nostalgia can't save a film, then nothing in Hollywood is safe anymore. Other studios watched carefully. If Disney can't pull this off, what chance does Warner Bros. Have with another DC reboot? What chance does Paramount have with another recycled action sequel? Hollywood thrives on confidence, and this flop cracked that illusion wide open. Already, we're seeing ripple effects, delayed projects, canceled films, and more studios shifting resources into streaming rather than risking big screen embarrassments. Snow White wasn't just a flop. It was proof that the guaranteed success formula doesn't exist anymore. So why does one movie matter so much? Because Snow White represents everything wrong with Hollywood today. First, the obsession with remakes. Instead of investing in new ideas, studios keep digging into their back catalogs. They take a classic, slap on a modern twist, and expect audiences to show up. But fans are smarter now. They see the pattern. They know it's not about storytelling, it's about profit. Second, the disconnect between Hollywood elites and everyday audiences. Interviews leading up to Snow White turned off fans before the film even launched. Third, the rise of competition. Audiences no longer rely on Hollywood for entertainment. Korean dramas, Indian blockbusters, anime films, and even YouTube creators are stealing attention. When people can spend $10 a month for unlimited streaming content, why spend $60 on a disappointing theater trip? Snow White's disaster didn't happen in isolation. It happened in the middle of an industry-wide collapse. Ticket sales are down. Streaming is cannibalizing box office revenue. Labor strikes have delayed dozens of productions, and audiences are losing patience. The truth is, Hollywood's golden formula is broken. Snow White just made that impossible to ignore. What really killed Snow White wasn't just the movie itself, it was the growing gap between audience voice and studio arrogance. In the past, studios dictated taste. They told us what was important, what was art, and what we should love. But social media flipped that power dynamic. Today, the audience controls the conversation. And when they decide a movie is unworthy, no amount of marketing dollars can change that. Disney ignored this shift. Instead of listening to early backlash, they doubled down. Instead of addressing concerns, they brushed them off. That arrogance fueled more resentment. By the time the film arrived, audiences weren't neutral. They were actively rooting against it. And that's something Hollywood hasn't figured out yet. In 2025, films don't just compete with other films, they compete with memes, reviews, reaction videos, and hashtags. If you lose the online conversation, you lose the box office. Snow White lost that battle months before its premiere. The result? Audiences didn't just skip the film, they celebrated its failure. That's a dangerous shift for Hollywood, because once people start cheering against your product, you're not just losing money, you're losing trust. And without trust, the dream factory collapses. To really understand why Snow White's disaster became such a big story, we need to zoom out. This isn't just about one bad film, it's about a broken relationship between Hollywood and its audience. Think about it. For decades, Hollywood had a monopoly on entertainment. If you wanted blockbuster action, family animation, or award-winning drama, you turned to Hollywood. But today, that monopoly is gone. Audiences now have options. They can watch a Korean drama on Netflix, stream an indie thriller on Amazon, or catch a viral creator series on YouTube. Entertainment is everywhere, and it's often cheaper, fresher, and more exciting than what comes out of Los Angeles. So why would anyone pay $15 for a ticket, $10 for popcorn, and 2 hours of their weekend for a film that feels recycled? Why sit through another reboot when streaming platforms drop original stories every week? Snow White's failure was a wake-up call. It showed that audiences aren't blindly loyal anymore. They won't support a film just because it carries a Disney or Hollywood label. They're demanding value, authenticity, and creativity. And if they don't get it, they walk away. That's the bigger picture. Hollywood isn't losing to one bad film. It's losing to a cultural shift. So the big question, is Hollywood really dead, or is it just evolving? Some argue that this is a rebirth. Hollywood has gone through crises before, from the fall of the studio system in the 1950s to the rise of television in the 1980s. Each time, it adapted, but the difference today is the scale of competition. It's not one new medium replacing another. It's hundreds of platforms competing for attention. Hollywood still has tools. Streaming services like Disney+, Netflix, and Max are global giants. Big franchises like Avatar or Top Gun, Maverick can still draw crowds. But those moments are becoming rarer. They're exceptions, not the rule. If Hollywood wants to survive, it has to stop chasing safe bets and start taking creative risks again. It has to rebuild trust with audiences by telling stories that feel genuine, not manufactured by committees. And most importantly, it has to remember what made films magical in the first place. Not budgets, not marketing, but storytelling. Otherwise, the future belongs to smaller studios, international filmmakers, and digital creators. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe the death of Hollywood as we knew it could make way for a new golden age of global storytelling. At the end of the day, Snow White wasn't just a film, it was a mirror. It reflected Hollywood's arrogance, believing nostalgia alone could guarantee success. It reflected Hollywood's disconnect, ignoring audience criticism until it was too late. And it reflected Hollywood's decline, spending hundreds of millions to produce a movie that couldn't compete with memes, reaction videos, and TikTok clips. In 1937, the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs saved Disney. It was the first full-length animated feature in history. People thought it would fail. They even called it Disney's folly. Instead, it became a cultural landmark and built the foundation of the Disney empire. In 2025, the remake did the opposite. Instead of saving the industry, it symbolized its decay. What once built an empire now became the headline for its collapse. That symmetry is poetic and tragic. Hollywood isn't dead because one movie failed. It's dead because the system that once created magic is now creating products audiences don't want. Snow White just proved it in the most dramatic way possible. So, is Hollywood dead? After Snow White's box office disaster, it sure feels like it. This was more than a flop. It was a cultural moment, the point where audiences openly rejected the old Hollywood formula. And if studios keep repeating the same mistakes, this industry won't just decline, it will collapse. But here's the twist. Maybe that's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning of something better. A chance for new voices, new stories, and new platforms to rise. Hollywood might be dead, but storytelling isn't. The magic will live on, just not in the same place it used to. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Hollywood can recover, or is this truly the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to know your perspective. And before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join our community for more breaking news, deep dives, and no-nonsense analysis of the entertainment world. Because trust me, the next big story is already unfolding, and you won't want to miss it. Hollywood may be dead, but this conversation is just getting started.